It's like Afterpay before a murder. Hey y'all, welcome and/or welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is another true crime episode. So if you're ready, let's go. Alright y'all, so today's video is day 4 of Mystery Week. Let me know in the comments if y'all have figured out what the theme for this week is. I got some people trying to guess. I got some of y'all trying to guess. And so far nobody been right. So just keep the guesses coming and I'll let y'all know tomorrow what the theme of the week was. So we just gonna go ahead and jump right into the case. So it's 2016 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and an assistant general manager at a hotel named Megan Veracus. She is working, doing her job, and at this hotel they have a long-standing customer, and his name is Leon Jacob. And Leon he's trying to pursue Megan, but eventually Megan agrees to at least have a drink with Leon. And when she had a drink with Leon, she actually liked him. It didn't hurt that he was a transplant surgeon over at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. Yeah, Megan was kind of feeling that too. And so Megan continued to see him, and she and Leon started to date. And while they were dating, Leon was such a gentleman. He was so attentive. He paid attention to the things that she said. He paid attention to the things that she needed, the things that she wanted. And Megan hadn't had that in a guy thus far. And so for Leon to be doing these things and to be paying attention the way he paid attention, and for him to be so attentive to her needs, she was very happy in the relationship. So when Leon told her that he was almost sure that he had a guaranteed job waiting for him at the Methodist Hospital in Houston, and he wanted her to go with him, she didn't hesitate. She picked up and she moved away from her family, away from Pittsburgh, from everything that she had known thus far, and moved to Houston with Leon. And of course, Leon promised to take care of her, which Megan didn't doubt at all that he would be able to anyways, because, I mean, he was a transplant surgeon. He was going to have the money to be able to take care of her. So she didn't really give it a second thought. So when they get to Houston, Leon is set to start his job pretty soon. But first things first, they need to find an apartment. And they do. They find an apartment pretty quickly. And it's a beautiful apartment, but the lease actually had to be in Megan's name because he said that due to his first marriage, his credit was shot and that he wouldn't have got approved for the apartment, which, red flags everywhere. But anyways, though, Megan wasn't tripping on that because she trusted Leon. She believed everything that he told her because she didn't have a reason not to. Now, despite the fact that Leon promised to take care of Megan, she actually enjoyed working. She liked getting up, having something to do during the day, and she wanted to work. And so she went out and found a job, and she found a job pretty quickly. She got a job 10 days after they moved to Houston. And she started adjusting to Houston life really well. She made new friends. She met his family. She became really, really close with Leon's sister-in-law. Like, she was just thriving in Houston, okay? Life was good and her relationship was even better. But as good as her relationship was, though, as the months went by, Megan started noticing that Leon didn't have a job. And so she would kind of press the issue and ask Leon why he didn't have a job, like why he wasn't working, and he was trying to live this baller lifestyle like he was bringing in the money when Megan was the only one who was really bringing in a check. She wanted to know what was up. And Leon pretty much, do I want to say gaslight? Did he gaslight her? I don't know. Y'all tell me if I'm right in the comments. Is this a gaslight? Because he would tell her, instead of answering the question and saying he gonna go get a job, he would say, you don't know what it's like to be a doctor. I can't just take any job. Like, he would make her feel like she was the crazy one. Like, okay, sir, you're right. I don't know what it's like to be a doctor because I'm not a doctor. But also, though, sir, what do you mean you can't take any job? Have you never heard of take what you can get until you can get what you want? Anyway, so arguments like this would happen anytime she brought up him not working. Like, he would just fly off the handle. So she would try not to bring it up as often. But one day Megan was tired. She was tired. She had just came home from working a 10-hour shift. She had a long day at work. And Leon was just in the apartment chilling. He hadn't taken the dog out for a walk. He hadn't fed the dog. He hasn't done nothing. But he been in this house all day. And Megan, she pressed him on the issue like, sir, you've been in the house all day. The dog has not been tended to. What have you been doing? I've been busting my butt at work, getting ready for Super Bowl weekend. And you've done nothing. And Leon lost it. Do you hear me? Like, started yelling, throwing stuff, crazy, just off the hinges, okay? And Megan was like, oh no, sir. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not dealing with this. And she went to go pack her bag. And she was about to be out of there. She didn't know where she was going, but she was getting the heck up out of there. And so with bag in tow, she tried to exit the apartment. But Leon was not here for it. And he was restraining her from leaving. And he actually ended up putting his hands on her. And so she's screaming, kicking, fighting. And she ended up biting and elbowing him and then running out of the apartment. Now, there had been arguments between the two before, like I said, and they were pretty bad arguments. But Leon had never put his hands on Megan. And Megan was not going to deal with physical abuse at all. Like, zero tolerance for physical abuse. And she actually filed a police report against him. She filed charges for assault of a family member, and I think in Texas that's like a pretty much a domestic assault charge. But anyways, because of this, Leon was arrested and taken to jail. He was able to post bond shortly thereafter, but there was terms to his bond release. He was not allowed to contact Megan in any way, shape, or form. He was ordered to stay away from her. But do y'all think Leon listened? Do you think Leon listened? No, Leon didn't listen. He emailed Megan, texted her, called her, showed up at her job. And this was all in violation of his release. So why, sir? Why? And once again, Megan contacted the authorities and he was arrested again. But this time on felony stalking charges. And that was on February 21st, 2017 that he was arrested on stalking charges. But just 2 days later, though, on the 23rd of February, he would be released once again because he would post bond yet again. But this time, he didn't go to a bail bondsman like he did the first time. This time, a lady named Valerie McDaniel will post his bond for him. Now, remember the name Valerie. Remember the name Valerie because she's going to come back up. But for right now, we're just going to keep talking about Leon. So, he was bonded out for the second time now. And he hits up his bail bondsman, the guy who bailed him out the first time. And he asked him, could he find a guy named Zach for him? And the reason that he came to his bail bondsman to help him find this guy named Zach was because he figured that the bail bondsman would have experience in looking for people, even if their numbers change, because, you know, people be skipping out on bail and he be having to find them to get his money back. And so Leon kind of figured like, hey, you can help me find Zach. Zach done changed his number on me and I need help. He told the bail bondsman that he needed help finding Zach because he paid Zach a lot of money to handle a problem for him. And based off of the conversation that Leon had with his bail bondsman, I'm not going to say bail bondsman more. I feel like I said that a lot. And so I'm going to try to stop saying that. I forgot his name though, so I can't really give y'all a name. But anyways, based off of the conversation that he and Leon had, he felt like somebody's life might be in danger. He didn't know who, and he didn't even know if he was tripping or not, but he felt like somebody's life was in danger. And so he got in contact with law enforcement and told them that Leon had come to him looking for a guy named Zach because he pays Zach a lot of money to handle a problem, and he thinks the problem is a person, right? And so law enforcement is like, okay, let's figure out who Zach is. So they go find Zach, and Zach got a story to tell. So Zach told the police that Leon hired him to kill Megan. He said that Leon gave him $9,900 to carry it out, but Zach didn't have no intentions of carrying out this hit. So he took the money and he just peaced out. And he said that he didn't come to the police because he kind of figured that Megan would be safe if Leon thought that Zach killed her, right? He didn't think that he would be stalking the woman, especially because there was a no contact order in place. And so he thought that Megan was safe. So yeah, while Leon was out on bond the first time, he hired Zach to take care of Megan. Then he got arrested. And now he out again looking for Zach. And so Zach agrees to cooperate with the police. And they have Zach contact him. And this wasn't suspicious to Leon because he just kind of thought that the bail bondsman came through for him and that he got in contact with Zach and now Zach was getting in contact with him. So it wasn't suspicious that Zach was calling because he was expecting his call. So Zach get Leon on the phone and he tell him that he got in contact with his Navy SEAL guy, which is the hitman, aka undercover cop, and that he can set up a meeting as early as tomorrow for them to iron out the details and work everything through. And so Leon is like, okay, cool. We taking care of both problems. And Zach is sitting there like, holy shit, what you mean both problems? And Zach looking at the police and the police looking at Zach. They did that Diddy stare thing like, and they don't know what the hell he's talking about, because as far as Zach knew, he was only supposed to be taking out one person, not two. So the police is like, what is he talking about? And Zach is like, I don't know what he's talking about. But obviously that they didn't take that long. And the police told Zach to just keep talking. So Zach was like, what both? And Leon was like, you know, both of our issues, my issue and Valerie's issue. You remember Valerie? Remember I said remember that name because she was going to come up? Yeah. The one who bailed him out of jail? Yeah, her issue. Right? So Leon pretends like he remembers, and he's like, oh, yeah. We'll meet tomorrow and we'll talk about it. I don't know why I just gave him an Italian accent. He was definitely not Italian. So now the police got to figure out who the heck is Valerie and who the heck does she want killed. So Valerie was a veterinarian who met a man named Mac McDaniel while she and he were both in veterinarian school. I was about to say to become vets, but what else do you go to veterinarian school for? Anyway, so she meets Mac while they're in vet school, and they get married a year after Valerie's graduation. As veterinarian doctors, they were both doing very well. They ended up buying a vet clinic together, and things was just going really good for them. And in 2008, they were even able to adopt a baby girl together. However, shortly after the adoption, their marriage started to crumble, and by August 2016, they were divorced. So this leads us back to March 8th, 2017, which is meeting day. And they had agreed to meet at an Olive Garden, right? And y'all know how this go. There was undercover officers everywhere at tables 6, 7, and 8 having a good old time eating good in the neighborhood. No, not eating good in the neighborhood, because that is definitely Applebee's and not Olive Garden. But that's beside the point. Y'all get the idea. There was undercovers everywhere, right? So the undercover hitman, whose name is Javier, arrives at the restaurant, and he gets to the table, and Zach introduces him to Leon. And everybody order their food. They order their drinks. They're eating and whatnot. And nobody is talking about what they there to talk about. So Javier just has to play along. He don't want to initiate the conversation and seem too suspicious, but he kind of wants the conversation to be initiated. And so finally, Leon's like, let's go talk outside. And Javier's like, all right, cool, bet. But Leon is being very, very cautious, and he instructs Javier to leave his phone at the table. So they go outside, and Leon and Javier are talking, and Leon is being real careful. He's really trying not to implicate himself in a murder for hire, right? He'll say stuff like, I want Megan to disappear, but don't hurt her. And then he also says potassium chloride is untraceable. And it's like, sir, what do you want? So they end up going back inside, and now it's Valerie's turn to talk. And Leon excuses himself from the table. Zach done already left. He done left before Leon and Javier even went outside. He was just there for the introduction. That was his role, and he was done with it. So like I said, now it's Valerie's turn, and Javier got to figure out what Valerie wants and who she wants it done to. So they get to talking, and she's pretty much saying she wants her ex-husband Mac McDaniel dead because he's going to try to take custody of their daughter from her. And Javier, you know, playing the part, he slides her a napkin, like write his full name and his address. And so she does, and that right there was proof that she wanted this done, right? That was like solid evidence for them. And so Leon comes back to the table, and they get to talking about it, and they work out a price. And he said that they can offer them 4 payments of $2,500. It's like Afterpay, but for a murder. Anyways, the meeting is over, and now they have to go notify Mac. And Mac's first thought was not even himself. It was his daughter. So he was like, police, whatever y'all need, whatever I can do for y'all, I will do. And so the police were like, okay, bet. We need you to pose for this picture and look like he got shot. And so he did. He laid in his car like he was slumped over the steering wheel, and they had put fake blood on his head to make it look like a carjacking gone wrong. And once they got a convincing enough picture, Javier called Leon to let him know that the deed was done. But he didn't want to tell Leon over the phone. He told Leon that they needed to meet in person. But Leon said that he couldn't leave the apartment, so Javier agrees to go to him. Now, this was a risky move because in Leon's apartment, Javier would be way less protected. It's not a public place where the police can just be around. And if they needed to get to him, the building wasn't as easily accessible as, like I said, a public place. But Javier was committed, and he was like, I'm going, and that's just what it is. Now, they tried to get him to wear a wire, But Javier said no, he didn't want to wear a wire because he already knew that Leon was super cautious based off the fact that he made him leave his phone at the table when they was at the Olive Garden. So he knew that Leon was going to be, kind of checking for stuff like that. And so he opted to not wear a wire. But he did end up having a device on him where his colleagues could hear him and they could listen in real time. And so he went up to the apartment and he knocks on the door. And the first thing Leon said was, "Put your phone on the table." And just like Javier knew, he was going to be very, very cautious. And so once they put their phones on the table, they headed outside to the balcony and they got to talking there. And this is where Javier told Leon and Valerie that the deed was done. He told them that Mac was dead. And Valerie, after she heard that, she excused herself. She didn't want to hear the details. She didn't need to hear no more. All she needed to hear was that Mac was dead and she was done. So once Valerie goes inside, Leon look at Javier and goes, "You're not wearing a wire, are you?" And as he's saying this, he kind of reached for Javier's shirt like, "Do you mind if I check?" So Javier, thinking quickly, grabs his shirt along with the recording device and he lifted up to show Leon that he's not wearing a wire. And he's like, "I'm not wearing a wire, dude." And so once he did that, because he grabbed the device that the colleagues was listening to, he made it lose connection. And so his colleagues are down there listening and they can't hear nothing no more. And so they immediately call his cell phone. But they don't call the cell phone that's in the house that's on the table. They call his detective cell phone that's in his pocket and it starts to vibrate. But mind you, Leon thinks that his phone, that the only phone he has is inside of the house. And so Javier is kind of shook, but he thinks quickly and he put his hand near his pocket to kind of muffle the sound. He thought that he was caught, but he wasn't. Leon didn't hear it. But then he realized that that was his colleague calling him because they had lost connection and they couldn't hear him no more. So now he's kind of worried that like they about to bust through the door any minute and try to save him because they don't know what's going on. But luckily that does not happen. And Javier is able to continue his conversation with Leon uninterrupted. And so now the topic moves away from Mac and moves towards Megan. So it was agreed that Javier would kidnap Megan and do whatever he needed to do to get Megan not to talk so that she would not be able to testify against Leon in neither one of the cases. The two go back inside and Leon gives Javier $1,800 for taking care of Mac. And with that, Javier is out the door. And so now they got to contact Megan, who was back in Pittsburgh by this point. She wasn't living there though. She had just gone back to visit. But they get in contact with her and let her know that she needs to be back in Texas ASAP because old boy is trying to have you kidnapped and we need you so that we can stage a kidnapping, pretty much. And so that's basically what they do. Once she touches down, they get her. They tie her arms and legs together. They duct tape her face. And I'm not talking about just like a little piece of tape across the mouth. They duct tape her head, hair and tape and everything. I can only imagine that that was a bitch to get off. But that's neither here nor there. So they do this and they take a picture of her in this warehouse. And she's actually crying. She is bawling. The picture looks so real. It looked like she was legit kidnapped because while she was in this warehouse, she just kept thinking like, what if this wasn't the police who did this to me? What if this was real? And so she was really crying in the photo. And they sent this picture to Leon to verify that this was Megan. And he was like, yep, that's her. And so Javier was like, okay, so what do you want me to do with her? And he basically told him like, do whatever you need to do to shut her up. And so Javier was like, all right, cool, I'll handle it. But he ended up calling Leon back like, okay, she's not being cooperative. She's saying she's still going to talk. If you need to come down here with that, potassium or whatever it is that you said, that's cool, come on. But if you can't, I'll do whatever I need to do by myself. And Leon was like, nope, I don't have access to come down there right now, so you figure it out. And so Javier was like, okay, bet. But about 30 minutes later, he called Leon again to tell him that Megan was not cooperating and that he was just going to have to do her in. And that is what it was. She was dead. And Leon was just like, okay. And with that, he thought the deed was done. So the last and final step was the death notification. Now, before they do this death notification, they know that Valerie and Mac's daughter is at the apartment with Valerie. So they want to make this as less traumatic as possible for her. So they get in contact with Mac McDaniel and he accompanies them so that once they arrest Valerie, they can he can just take their daughter and go. So detectives go to Valerie and Leon's apartment to deliver the death notification. And when they tell Valerie that Mac is dead, she pretty much plays the part. The detective described it as she was playing a role and she was acting the way she thought she should act. And pretty much immediately after that, the police informed Leon and Valerie that they were both under arrest for the solicitation to commit capital murder. So as they putting Valerie in handcuffs, Mac walks by, goes to his daughter's room, picks her up because she's sleeping, and walks right past Valerie. And she's sitting there looking stupid in the face because the whole reason why she was trying to have him killed was so that he wouldn't have custody of their daughter. And now he gonna have custody of their daughter anyway. So anyways, they was both sent to jail and Leon was held without bond, obviously. But since this was Valerie's first offense, she was let out on bond and she was able to post bail. And very soon after she got let out on bond, she went home to her 7-story apartment and jumped from her balcony, effectively unaliving herself. She was not able to deal with the consequences that was about to come behind her actions. And I'm sorry, but I don't feel bad for her. I mean, it's sad that she died, but I really can't feel sorry for somebody who thought they had somebody else killed. She didn't care about his death. I'm just saying. But anyway, so obviously Valerie never made it to trial, but Leon did, and Megan testified against him in his trial. In the end, he was sentenced to life in prison for the solicitation to commit capital murder. And it turns out the reason that Leon was getting mad at Megan every time she asked him about his job was because he was never a practicing physician. He was never a practicing surgeon. He was never a practicing doctor. He did complete medical school though, but he never passed his boards and he never completed a residency. He went to a couple different residencies, but he never completed them because he kept getting kicked out because they said they were concerned for the patient's safety while they was in his care. So yeah, the reason why he couldn't get a job was because he could not pass the board. And so his little ego was hurt. And every time she mentioned it, his little ego would get bruised a little bit and he would have to lash out. So yeah. So yeah, y'all, that is all I have for today's case. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what y'all think the theme is for this week. And I will see you all in the next one. Damn, what is wrong with my eye, dude? I paid too much money for these eyes to be doing this. Okay. And it didn't help. What was I about to say? I don't know. Anyway. But did Brian? His name is not Brian. Why? Who is Brian? So they want to make this as little, but he never completed